What's up, everyone? My name is Jen. Welcome to another episode of the FMA Dumpster Fire podcast. This is going to be a good one. Well, could be a lie. I don't know if it's going to be a good one. I'm just projecting that it's going to be a good one. It's about something really interesting. I just got out of the shower. You guys know I think about FMA constantly, and I examine it from a very particular lens, not being attached to any one system, instructor, lineage, affiliation, none of that. I consider myself absolutely and completely free. And today, while I was in the shower, I was thinking about this idea that how those who seek and those who militantly seek to preserve FMA by way of authenticity and purity are actually the ones who are going to lead to its dilution and homogenization. Sound interesting? I think so. Again, this is a stream of consciousness podcast. I haven't really hashed this out. I just really wanted to share it. Got out of the shower. We're going to talk about it today. At some point, my kids are going to come home from school. This is just how we roll. Welcome to another episode of the FMA Dumpster Fire podcast. Here's a pre-roll.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go.
You're finished. Stop.
Get up. Gotta wake up, bitch. Get up.
Oh.
Get up. Get up.
Launch the counterattack.
All right, real quick. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Can you guys give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me? I wasn't able to hear the audio from that pre-roll. I was really looking forward to it. So just drop a quick note, drop me a quick message if I'm coming through loud and clear, or if I'm not, probably be good to know. So an interesting topic today, guys. Interesting topic. Oh, here we go. Yeah, and by the way, it's like 3:39 Eastern time. If you guys have work, bookmark the crap out of this. I think it's going to be an interesting one. So, all right, let's talk about derivatives of FMA. And I promise this is going to lead somewhere. So actually, no, we're going to have to travel a little bit farther back than that. Have you guys ever heard of this? Have you guys ever heard of this idea that when a Filipino martial arts instructor chooses to add modifications, whether it by way of methodologies or adding techniques to a system, have you ever heard purists and preservists say something like, well, it's not Pikiti Tertia anymore, therefore you should call it something else? You guys have heard that, right? And surely I know for a fact that there are people who will inevitably watch this video who will go, yeah, that happened to me. That happened to me when I took System X of Filipino martial arts and I wanted to add this concept or remove this concept or modify the methodology, that there are going to be people out there who let's be real, out of love, okay? So let's admit that. It's not out of malice, who are going to want you to call that new thing something else, right? This has happened time and time again. There are so many derivatives of Balintawak, Pikiti Tertia, Calis Illustrissimo, and the Campo systems. There are so many factions, and these are based on what sometimes amounts to small differences. I mean, sometimes they're big differences, and I get that. But here's what will eventually happen. If you follow the path, if you follow this trajectory of dilution, because people demand that a system be kept pure and left unmodified, the likelihood of students good students of that system will have questions, right? Because obviously, maybe not obviously, we want to encourage critical thinking in all of martial arts, especially the Filipino martial arts. And so when you allow and you encourage critical thinking, personal exploration, self-expression, then individuals are going to have ideas about how to make it better. And I understand that sometimes that's not always the case, that these modifications do not always amount to a system becoming better. And I think part of my point is that the system figureheads ought to at least be open to the conversation to make it part of the original system. Otherwise, there are going to be calls from the community to go, well, you added this technique to it, therefore it's no longer Calizo Lustrissimo, or it's no longer Pikiti Tertia, therefore you should call it something else. And then what inevitably happens is a divergence of, or a corruption or a destruction of what was once a beautiful relationship between a master and one of their best students. Again, right? Like, we're not talking about somebody, some, shitbird like me coming in and going, hey, I think all of your stuff is wrong. Like, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody who spends time in the system, a decade, 2 decades into the system, who have built a subsection of followers within that FMA system. When that, in other words, when the master has done its job and the student is at the helm of being worthy to have the torch passed to them, sometimes what happens in the Filipino martial arts is that person actually becomes a threat to the master. And because there aren't so many, students, like, the pool of Filipino martial arts is very shallow, meaning to say there aren't a whole lot of them. Like, you don't see a Filipino martial arts academy in every street corner like you might a Taekwondo or a karate academy. And so the master, upon raising a brilliant student, at the point that that student reaches the phase or the zone where they might be ready to branch out and become more independent, that relationship sometimes gets corroded. This is not always the case, right? This is not always the case. That's really important to know. Sometimes there are people who think I can be too negative, right? Because I don't discuss the totality of possibilities, kind of being vilified a little bit by being focused for a particular moment in time. So here we're talking about something that's really, really focused. And that's not to say that the opposite can't also be true. And that's not to say that my opinion is the opinion and everyone should go ahead and subscribe to it. Everything that I say is always open to civil dialogue and communication, right? I think that's happened a few times in FMA, like maybe 3 times. See, like, even that joke, people are like, oh, all right, stop with the crybaby. So anyway, back to my point. Is this beginning to make sense? So think about generations from now. Okay, so we have already observable proof that there are offshoots of Pikiti Tertia because of a disagreement between the figurehead and the student on the rise. We have examples from Calizo Lustrissimo. We have examples from Balintawak. Looking a little bit further back, maybe we have examples from the De Campo group of systems, the Lightning Scientific. Even Lameco really was an offshoot of others, right? And so while Lameco is a recognizable brand in FMA, if we continue this trajectory, it is going to lead to a dilution of FMA and a homogenization of FMA, which, by the way, I support. And that's going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people to hear, that I support the idea that it is a Filipino martial art. One art. It is one art, right? Yes, there are going to be people, and they may be right, that there's MFA, Moro Fighting Arts. And I honestly don't know enough about that division to even speak of it. But just getting back to my point here, you guys, we see it. We see it already happening. And so it's unfortunate that as the Filipino martial arts continue to grow, the specific elements of it continue to weaken because of ego and people proposing that by keeping it pure, by keeping it authentic to the original, we are going to preserve it. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Not to a large scale. I think Balintawak will always be around. I think Piti Tersha will always be around. You know, hopefully Calisos Illustrissimo is always going to be around, and in other systems, who knows what will happen. But again, the more that this happens, the more militant calls for authenticity. It's funny and it's ironic and it's also sad that the people working so hard to keep a particular faction alive are actually the ones who are going to destroy it. It's actually possible that this is that this will be the case. Do you think martial arts systems should be more open source? So that's very, very interesting, right? Because again, because I'm direct and I do these stream of consciousness podcasts, I could be misunderstood, right? Like there are certain people who are like, Paulo, you should change your tone, and you should not say it like that. You should say it like this. Fine, I get it, right? But you're free to start your own podcast. Let me do it my way. So do I think that martial arts systems should be open source? Yes, right. And when I say yes, and when I say yes directly, that I think martial arts should be more open source. I'm not saying it should exclusively be open source. And for all the whiny crybabies out there lamenting about my style and tone, I'll tell you what I'm not saying. Okay, I'm not insulting tradition. Okay, I'm not insulting lineage. It's absolutely not what I'm doing. In fact, all I'm really proposing is that for these traditions to continue to perpetuate, and for the lineage to continue to live and be remembered, maybe there should be a little bit more openness to the idea that there can be appropriate delineation and modification of an authentic system. I'll give you a great example of this, okay? And again, I can only speak with what I know, and even then, I don't really know, but certainly I'm more exposed to an organization like the Piti Tersha Tactical Association, right? And I don't mean to be a fanboy or anything like that, but I think that organization, and I'm not saying it's the only one, it's the only one that I can speak with some level of credibility to, maybe, I don't know. But because of my exposure to it, I know that there are lines even within the PTTA where there is an exploration of the art as was taught by Grand Tuhon Leo Gahe, the Tri-V system. But even that has, even the Tri-V system is already a divergence from the, the Doce Methodos system, right? The old versus the new, even though they converge. So it's, and within the PTTA, while there is that respect for tradition, you see it in their salutation, you see it in how certain material is taught, you see it in the terminology and the language that's used, you see it in the fact that they go back to the Philippines to hold conferences. But then on the flip side of this honoring of authenticity and purity, as pure as Piti Tersha can really be. Let's be honest, okay? Piti Tersha ain't pure. It's it's a collection of inspirations borrowed, picked, and stolen from a multitude of other systems, but curated in such a way that it is its own thing now, right? I get that. And perhaps Pikiti Tusha is a great example of the opposite of what I'm actually claiming, right? That dilution and inauthenticity can actually create its own thing that's authentic, right? So there we go, stream of consciousness. So I hope you guys get what I'm saying, though. I hope you guys don't misunderstand my point. Certainly, this is no insult to those who wish to keep their system authentic, who wish to keep their system pure. This is not an indictment of your intentions, but this is more of like an illumination as to how you go about doing that thing. Because what I see, what I observe, if I can still call myself an outsider to the broader Filipino martial arts community, which I always wish to be an outsider. I never want to be so involved in an FMA system that it prevents me from speaking freely about it. Never, never, never want to do that. That yeah, it's possible that, you know, if you find yourself at a position of influence and control over a system that you hold dear and over a system that you wish to keep authentic, just be careful about the possibility that your intention may be corrupted by your execution of those intentions. Because, I mean, we're talking about grown-ass men here with egos and attitudes, you know what I'm saying? And sooner or later, you can only control a man for so long before they say, fuck you, man. I'm going to start my own system. I'm going to call it this, this, this. And before you know it, your intention of wanting to keep your system pure and authentic actually leads to it being weakened, corroded, and forgotten. So I know this is uncomfortable. I get it. It's uncomfortable. I want you guys to reflect on it, okay? And I want you guys to, like, maybe not worry so much about my tone and the style, but really dig into what I'm actually saying. And so I think that's it. If there are any more questions, maybe there are some on Facebook. I don't get them here. I'm on YouTube's. Let's see. Watching later. Yes, civil dialogue. Kelly Warden. Datu Kelly Warden, the man, the myth, the legend. I freaking love this guy. Here's, man. NSI is another example. By the way, Datu Kelly Warden wrote, purity does not exist. Let's be honest, eh? But here's the thing about NSI and what Datu Kelly Warden has done, not just to Modern Arnis or Combatan or other systems of FMA, that it has incorporated within the NSI umbrella. Okay, you would think on the surface, if you didn't know Datu Kelly Warden, and if you had no idea about what the NSI community was all about, I mean, you might assume that they're just a bunch of martial arts thieves picking apart concepts from different systems and calling it their own. What you may not know is that they show deep honor and pay homage to their sources at these camps. There were moments of silence for Professor Remy Presses and a whole bunch of other instructors that I don't even know. But I know that they take the time, and within their quest for progression and evolution, they're actually strengthening the memory and the legacy of that which they are inspired by. So another great example, Datu Kelly Warden and the NSI. I can't believe that wasn't the first one that comes to mind, because that's actually, that's perhaps a better example of delineating art from function, from legacy, from evolution, from purity, from progression. That's a way better example, in my opinion, than the PTTA, because the PTTA is, you know, Pikiti Tusha, whereas NSI is a whole bunch of other stuff, and they've done it extraordinarily well. By the way, shout out. There's going to be, I think I saw on Facebook that the NSI Water and Steel Training Camp 2022 is a go. Man, one of the best seminars in North America, hands down, in my opinion. Obviously, I haven't been to all of them. Baste Carlos, yes. Civil Dialogue, Winky Face. Nah. You know what? There are some people who say one thing and mask intentions. I'm not saying you're that guy, but I'm saying guys like that exist. And this is FMA. This is martial arts for sure, for sure. There are, you know, I mean, it's the same. I suppose it's the same in any community, and it's the same in life, right? You really got to be careful of the kind of people that you allow in your inner circles, right? Like, keep your friends close and your enemies even closer. So they say. That's what Kelly Warren writes. Simple survival, adapting to the threat. Style does not win the conflict. Amen. Style does not win the conflict. The fighter / survivor does. Oh my God, I will never stress style over survival. Function over flash. Bound by restriction is trapped by ego and arrogance with no regard for preservation of the practitioner the teacher once embraced, yet never trusted or respected. Gosh, dang it, Datu Kelly Warren, you are a poet and a warrior. So this is what I'm saying, right? I hope this has made sense to you guys, that for those who want to be militant about keeping their system pure and authentic, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in the way that you think it's going to happen. It's going to happen by way of being more open-minded and accepting that the world is changing, that the times are changing, that the Filipino martial arts has a passport now, and it's not relegated only to the shores of the Philippine Islands, that it has something more valuable than relevance to the place of its origin. Filipino martial arts will always belong to the Philippines. That's never a threat. And that's another thing that I get accused of by supporting, non-Filipino or Filipinos who immigrated out of the Philippines. By supporting them, I have been insulted, as being less Filipino or not being patriotic or proud enough. I mean, I give those kinds of people a big middle finger to the face, and I tell them how it is, right? But again, being a content creator, being somebody in the public eye, I understand that the nature of things is that, and I appreciate it actually, is that, I'm under a microscope, and people are going to pick apart every little thing that I say, and that's going to be driven by their intention or perception, right? That's it. That's it right there. Are there other things on my mind? Yes, there are other things on my mind. The idea of using FMA, the idea of profiting from FMA, I think it's fine, and I make it no secret that I'm here, yes, to serve Filipino martial arts, but I guess that's not as genuine as maybe if I say that I'm here to express myself through the Filipino martial arts. Now, another way that you can kind of twist those words around is to say that I'm using Filipino martial arts for my own benefit. Fact of the matter is, all of those statements are true. They're absolutely true. Yes. Okay, guys, I'm using FMA for my own personal benefit. Yeah. That's one way to put it, and there's truth in that. And I'm not shy about that stuff. I'm not one of these fake, self-righteous, pretend noble people who are like, I do FMA to serve the community and I get no benefit. Blah, blah, blah. Fake, fake, fake. You know what I mean? So, yes, I use Filipino martial arts. I use Filipino martial arts to get reconnected with my culture and my heritage. I use the Filipino martial arts to express myself creatively. I use the Filipino martial arts to manufacture adversity for myself so that I can get a real pulse of where my skills are in the Filipino martial arts. All of these things are true. And if people wish to vilify that by twisting the words in such a way that does not illuminate the positive elements of that, again, go for it, go for it. I don't really care. This community that we have built together, people who are actual critical thinkers in the Filipino martial arts, the community is way too strong. The movement is huge, and it's not something that I started. There are people from the 80s, 90s, the early 2000s up to this day who have been saying the same things that I've been saying, but fortunately or unfortunately, lack the medium for these messages to be heard in such a way that we are not going to be drowned out by these, legacy systems and the way that they've always done things. Clearly, that's not really worked out that well. Look where the Filipino martial arts is today. It's only beginning its upward trajectory. And if it's as good as some people propose it is, then somebody's got to take accountability for the fact that it isn't where it should be today. Correct? I mean, that's just the reality of it. By the way, one exception, and this person doesn't even like me, but I would like to honor them because I believe in what they're doing, and I believe that they're doing it the correct way. And that's Manguromi Macapagal. Now, here's a guy, right? I don't know if you'll ever get to see this. It's not really for him. But for me to remain authentic, I have to mention someone like Manguromi, who is all about purity and preserving Calis Illustrissimo. But he's abundantly clear. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about his intention. He makes it clear from the very beginning that that is his mandate, and that he will not tolerate or indulge on the idea of improving Calis Illustrissimo or in progressing it or making it relevant for the modern day. His mandate is its preservation as close as possible, given the tools and resources that he has. That's his mandate. It's clear. It is, and so in that regard, I must and I want to acknowledge that as the right way of preserving and keeping authentic and keeping pure. So again, I mean, I have to balance out my perspective, and maybe I've diverged a little bit, but for the most part, if there is no clarity and if ego is involved, and if the intentions are not clear, if you want your system to be pure, and if you want your system to be authentic, and more importantly, if you want your system to last, you have to be mindful about how you execute on those intentions, because what I see right now is a lot of amazing individuals who would otherwise have loved to represent the system of their origin branch out, and not because they wanted to, but because they were forced to. And so if that's happened to your system, and if you were the cause of that, you're gonna have to live with that. And that's that. All right. Joel Hunkar's Old Geezer Martial Arts channel. I love that. Old Geezer Martial, expressing yourself is what makes it art. Absolutely. Right. Cheeto, FMA is valuable and used by all of its practitioners. Each class, those kids use it for fun. I agree. FMA is so much more than the thing that it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Man, I use FMA as a stress reliever. I use it to, when my back is sore, I do a little bit of Carenza just for those angle one. Man, those angle 1s and 2s with that stick, it's a nice stretch, isn't it? It just relieves back pain sometimes. But it's a wonderful thing. And heck, some of you might know that FMA is also a conflict resolution platform, right? Like, you got a problem with me, I got a problem with you. Well, heck, we can just go ahead and pick up some sticks, put a mask on, and and go at it for a little while, and hopefully, like the sportsmen and gentlemen that we are, leave our disagreements on the floor and end it with a handshake, a hug, and some beers. I've done that. Yeah, I've done that. Like, sometimes I've done that without even knowing it. You know what I mean? I thought I was just hopping into like a fun little sparring match, and then it's like afterwards, dude talks to me. He's like, "You know what, man? I like you now." I'm like, "Shit, bro." I didn't know that was a grudge match. I would have hit you harder. Anyway, the Filipino martial arts is a beautiful thing. I am just a grain of sand in the beach, the bits. I am just a grain of sand in the FMA beach. Okay, so for us to maintain the integrity of the beach, we have to stop acting like a bitch. Anyway, oh man, yo, share this video, will you? I'm not gonna make it that long. Share it with your students. If you've got the balls, share it with your instructor. But share it with your instructor under the right context, obviously. If your instructor, if you sense that your instructor, believes in what I've had to say, despite the fact that I do have a style and tone and attitude, and this is my platform, you know what I'm saying? And it gets heard. Our community is growing, you guys. So thank you so much for that. I mean, for real, thank you so much for that. Like, what's our? I think the FMA Source YouTube channel is 1,500 subscribers now. The FMA Source Facebook page has like 17,000 likes. And we're growing, and I super freaking appreciate that. And as much as possible, I'm going to do my best to reciprocate that, right? And this is the part that I'm not saying I'm altruistic or selfless, but I believe that the bigger FMA grows, like the better it is for everybody, even for the crybabies. You know what I'm saying? Like even, I'm just dissing them now. That's not cool, Rubio. Why you gotta diss the FMA crybabies, Rubio? I don't know, man. It's because they keep crying. Rubio, man, you gotta take it easy on them. Take it easy. All right, anyway, God, I'm not really making a great case for myself to be more liked, right? But fuck it, man. There's no money in FMA. Like, not yet. I mean, we're all barely scraping by. Right? But yo, I'll tell you this, man. Like, even if we disagree or whatever, and you got a question for me about like, yo, what camera should I use? And what's the most efficient way to make videos? And I don't know how to edit. Can you point me in the right direction? I'm always here for you guys, even if you don't like me. If I sense that your intentions are good, and those intentions could include something as simple as, man, I need 200 more bucks this month, and FMA videos is the only way I could see myself doing it without wanting to shoot myself in the head. I'll fucking help you, man. Like I will straight up help you, and as long as we can be honest about these things, I think we're gonna be just fine. I think that's it. I'm gonna play like still the undisputed world champion of FMA podcast intros and outros. Like, it's still the best, but one day it's not going to be, and that day will bring me great joy. But for now, once again, thank you. Please visit the FMA Source Facebook page. I feel like a beggar now. Just freaking like the page, please. It really does help. And the FMA Source YouTube channel. It takes 2 seconds. It helps, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, you guys want to know how much I make every month off? You guys want to know? Because last time it was like $50. This is how much I'm working in. I'm not even sharing my screen. I'm going to show you guys behind the scenes of FMA Source. This is probably against YouTube terms of service, to be honest. I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to show you guys all the ducats that I'm making. Oh, shit. Damn. Here, I'm going to share my screen. You guys are about to see riches beyond your wildest imagination. Okay? So friggin' pathetic. Where is it? There it is. Jeez. Here it is. You guys see this right here? I'm making $54 right here. You see that? Damn it. Yo, y'all got to stop being so jealous, man, because I'm rolling in it. $54.27. Okay? Okay. 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 Maybe that clears things up a little bit, right? God damn it, FMA. You are amazing, and the people within you are just wacky and wild and amazing. And there are some whiny crybabies out there, but who cares? For the most part, FMA is great. So I think this is my third time trying to get the fuck out of this. Sorry. I think this is the third time I'm trying to leave this this podcast. But I do want to wrap it up by reiterating the point that those... oh, by the way, do you guys know what paradox means? There we go. I'm going to do a fucking fourth act outro. Paradox, because at the bottom there, if you're reading it, right, like what the hell is paradox? Why does Rubio use all these stupid fancy words? So here's what paradox means. Paradox, a situation, person, or thing that combines contradictory features or qualities. That's the second definition, but the primary definition of paradox. A statement or proposition that despite sound reasoning, the hell, I can't read. Let me try that again. Here's what paradox means. A statement or proposition that despite sound reasoning from acceptable premises leads to a conclusion that seems senseless, logically unacceptable, or self-contradictory. Actually, that's the second definition. I give you the third definition first. So here's the primary definition. Paradox. As seeming, and this is the one, guys. Come on, dude, hang in there. I'm trying to tell you what paradox means. Paradox, a seemingly absurd or self-contradictory statement or proposition that when investigated or explained may prove to be well-founded or true. A seemingly absurd or self-contradictory statement or proposition that when investigated or explained may prove to be well-founded or true. And so let's all read that bottom scrolly thing right now. Paradox. An argument against the preoccupation for authenticity and purity and in FMA in order to preserve its authenticity and purity. Boom. I'm not going to do any better than that for an outro. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Here is the dopest outro intro in all of FMA podcast land. Peace.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go.
You're finished! Stop!
Get up. Gotta wake up, bitch. Get up.